Hello and welcome again. In this step, we're going to finally start the actual work. We're going to create our very first isometric cube. So let's begin with that. But before, we are going to check some things under the Adobe Illustrator preferences. To bring up the Adobe Illustration preferences, you can simply hit Ctrl K on the keyboard. Okay, so now that we are here under preferences, be sure that the keyboard increment it's 1 pixel. Let's now move to selection and anchor display. Here it is very important that you click on snap to point and that you assign a large number like 8 pixels. Okay, let's confirm all of this by clicking OK on this menu window and exit. Last but not least, let's check a very important feature that we need to have enabled in order to work on isometric view, that is the Smart Guides. They are under View, Smart Guides. Okay, we are ready to begin now. So, remember that I mentioned before that our approach was going to be based on how the pixel artists used to work with isometric view? What I meant is that we are going to emulate the exact same angle that they use. They used to do like a little staircase. We're going to do the same here. So we're going to take the rectangle tool, and while holding shift, we're going to click and drag to create a perfect square that's going to emulate a pixel. This is what we need at the moment because we are going to do the same staircase that they did. Okay, so now that we have this object, we are going to take our selection tool, and while holding Alt on the keyboard, we are going to click and drag to create a copy, and we are going to place it around here. Be sure that the object is perfectly snapped to the side of the other square. By using this method of holding Alt and clicking and dragging, we are going to continue our staircase, so to speak. So for this next step, we are going to snap it to the upper right anchor point. And again, we're going to do exactly the same thing here. So basically, you can continue creating this staircase, but we already got what we wanted and what we need to create the angle. Okay, so on to the next step, we're going to take our line segment tool, and we are going to hover around here where the word anchor is displayed, and we're going to draw a line that goes from here to the top anchor point. So in order to get the angle perfectly right, be sure that the word anchor appears before you release the line, as you see here. Okay, there we go. We have our very first line. This angle, this line will be the basis for our grid, and we're going to base our entire isometric approach on this line. So we can now safely delete all of these squares. We only need the line at the moment, so I'm going to take it and I'm going to duplicate it by holding Alt and clicking and dragging. Now I'm going to hover over this end until the rotation icon appears. This means that we can start rotating now, so that's what we'll do. And we want to take this line and have it on a 90-degree angle. Thankfully, our Smart Guides will help us snap the line on that position. And once we have it, we are going to snap it to the bottom. Okay, perfect. At this moment, I want to resize all of these lines, but the most important thing that you have to keep in mind is that you have to hold Shift in order to constrain the proportions, because if we don't do so, we are going to modify that angle and it will no longer be useful to us. Okay, so continuing, I'm going to take this line and I'm going to hold Alt on the keyboard and I'm going to click and drag and I'm going to snap it over here. And here I'm going to do the exact same thing. Okay, excellent. Now we have all the lines that will compose the first phase of this cube. But as you can see, this is not a shape yet. These are only lines that are snapped together. You can see it clearly if I zoom in. So we need to join them together. To do so, we are going to take our direct selection tool and we are going to click and drag to select the entire corner and hit Ctrl J as in join. Okay, so obviously we are going to repeat the same process to the other 3 corners. Okay, excellent. Now this is actually a shape instead of a set of lines. So you can feel free to test it, you can fill it with a color to see if it changes color. If it does, then it's ready to go. So of course we are going to copy and paste to create the other side. So we are going to click and drag while holding Alt and Shift. And once we release, we are going to right click, transform, reflect. This will flip that object, so be sure that the axis is selected as vertical and click OK. And now all we have to do is to snap it to the side of the other face. By the way, you'll notice that now the bounding box is rotated, which is kind of annoying. I don't personally like it, so go to Object, Transform, Reset Bounding Box. There we go. This is up to you, but I find that this is much more comfortable to work with. Okay, so let's take care of the top part of the cube. We are going to take our pen tool and we want to place it around here and hover until you see the word anchor displayed by the smart guides. Then you click here and we are going to continue doing so. The same thing on the middle and then on the opposite side. This will create this kind of V shape that we need to do the top. So now we'll duplicate this V-shaped line by holding Alt and Shift and dragging up. So right now we want to rotate this, so we'll hover around here until this little icon is displayed. We want to have a 180-degree rotation, so we are going to hold Shift to constrain the angle of the rotation, and then we're going to snap it. Okay, so now at this point we'll obviously want to join the two V's together as we did with the first face of the cube. So we are going to select them both by holding Shift on the keyboard and we're going to move them up a bit. So this is just to work a bit more comfortably. Now that we have this separated from the rest of the faces of the cube, we're going to, as we did before, take our direct selection tool and then click and drag to select an entire corner and press Ctrl J as in showing in both sides. Now let's return to our regular selection tool, select this shape and then we're going to move it down until it snaps with the other faces. Okay, great, we have our very first isometric cube. Believe it or not, this will be the basis of most of our illustration. I'll show you later. By now we want to group this object and we are going to resize it a bit too. Okay, there we go. Now let's move on to the next shape. That will be a cylinder. So the first step will be to take this cube that we just created and we're going to duplicate it by holding Alt and clicking and dragging. Once we've done that, we want to ungroup this particular cube. So we are going to take the top part of the cube, the top face of the cube, and we're going to go to Effect, Stylize, Round Corners. Okay, so now that we have done that, this window will pop up. So the trick is to select a really large number. You can ensure that the number is adequate by clicking on Preview and seeing the result. Okay, there we go. So now we have created a perfect circle from that isometric square. So basically the trick here is to take the round corner tool and input a very large number so it goes over the maximum amount of roundness that it can handle until it's so rounded that it becomes a circle because their corners are rounded up to the maximum. So have this in mind. This is the most comfortable and most precise and the easiest way to create a circle from any square shape, and in this case an isometric shape, on Adobe Illustrator. And of course we are going to repeat this same trick that we did with the round corners tool with the rest of the faces of the cube. Once we are done with that, we want to be sure to go to Object, Expand Appearance. Okay, so these shapes will be your basic tools at the moment of creating an isometric illustration or any isometric objects, so keep them. Okay, so let's move on to creating the actual cylinder shape. So we're going to take the top circle and we're going to create a copy. And we're going to take our line segment tool. We're going to hover over here until we find the middle of this circle. And while holding Shift, we're going to draw a line that strikes the middle of this circle. Okay, now that we have both of these things, we're going to select them both. And we are going to bring up our Pathfinder window. That's on Window Pathfinder. Once we have it open, we're going to select the option called Divide. Okay, and the result will be a circle that's split in two parts. So if after dividing with the Pathfinder the shape doesn't have a fill or a stroke, be sure to put that back on, as this was the case. Sometimes Adobe Illustrator does this. Okay, so what we want to do at this moment is to take our Direct Selection tool. We are going to select this path anywhere. We're going to click anywhere on this line and we're going to hit Delete. And we are going to do the same thing with the other shape. Now we only have two lines, so we are going to click and drag to select both anchor points on this side and click Ctrl J to join. And of course, we're going to do the same thing on the other side too. So now using the Direct Selection tool, we can select by clicking and dragging the bottom part of this cylinder, and we can drag it down a bit to enlarge it. Okay, perfect. Now things are looking good. We want to finally take this circular shape and place it on top. So this is behind. Let me fix it very quickly by going to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Okay, perfect. We have now created the cylinder shape and the cube shape. So we have our basic toolset along with the other circular shapes that we also created. You don't want to delete any of these because this will be our building blocks for the entire complete illustration. So I think this is all for now. The next step will be creating the grid, and for that we are going to use the objects that we created on this step of the course. So see you on the next part.